What's up, everybody? Paul here from the Hoops Crew for a brand new episode of the Paul James Show. It's been a little while scheduling with holidays and games interstate and gather around, and then a delay for Easter Monday. It's all been a bit of a mess. So we're finally kind of getting things slowly back on track now with a bit of a scheduling thing, especially once we get our Geelong and Hawthorn game out of the way tomorrow. A game that I'm sure for all of you, like myself, makes you incredibly anxious and nervous, but we'll see how that goes anyway. Welcome to the show. It's a Sunday night episode where we're blending some previews as well as some around the grounds review stuff so far, but then we are still 24 hours out, well, less than 24 hours out from the Geelong and Hawthorn game. So like I said, a bit of a mess as we try and kind of compile a lot of different types of shows tonight, but we'll persist anyway. Happy Easter to everyone who is watching. Hope you've had a great weekend with loved ones, and hopefully that continues on into a very happy Easter Monday tomorrow, where the Cats hopefully get a win. All right, let's get into what we're going to be talking about tonight. As I said, it's a bit of a mishmash of preview and review mode. We're going to look at the teams for the Geelong and Hawthorn game. We're going to preview the match in some detail. We'll go around the grounds looking at the games that have been played already, as well as some of those that are currently playing out. We've got some Q&A, and then we're going to jump into, well, within that, we're going to do my game of the week as well. So let's get into proceedings here where we can talk about the teams. Thankfully, the Monday game is a weird one in terms of what it does for information around a game. The Cats and the Hawks were able to disclose by 6:20, gave them lots and lots of time, and I think that maybe has some bearing on late changes. We'll talk about that shortly. You can see the changes specifically for the Cats here. Tom Stewart in from his bout of gastro. Chris Scott, even in a press conference he delivered today, has been pretty definitive in saying that Tom Stewart is back. No concerns there. Didn't flag anyone who's got a funny gut, which is good news. Ted Closey, being the sub last week, is out. Though I will note that he was an out today for the Geelong and Box Hill VFL game, where things were going all right until they suddenly weren't. He didn't play at all that day, so maybe there's a chance that he's a late in, but there's also just a possibility that you need to keep him available and fresh for a game the very next day. So we'll see how that plays out. As for the Hawks, Scrimshaw and Connor McDonald are in, with Jack Ginnivan being out. He has played in the VFL today, and Finn McGuinness as well. For the most part, like for likes, nothing too dramatic to be seen here. And there's been a lot of talk about Ginnivan. Obviously, he's a pretty high-profile individual, but he's been woefully out of form so far this season. So it makes sense that he got dropped here, that he ran out of chances. We'll see how that goes for them tomorrow, though. Let's get into this a little bit further. In terms of the bench, we can see our bench here as things currently stand. O'Shane Mullen, Graham Myers, Jack Bowes, Mark O'Connor, and Mitch Nevitt. No chance, I think, in the case of Myers and Bowes, but it will be interesting with the O'Shane Mullen, Mark O'Connor, and Mitch Nevitt side of things. I, for mine, not that I love it because I love him, I for one, believe Mitch Nevitt might be the man in this particular case. We'll see how that goes. As for the emergencies, and it's interesting because it kind of shows the continued development of some of these individuals. Obviously, we've just spoken about Ted Closey and how, I guess, close he is to returning to the team and may possibly, based on his lack of action today. George Stevens has been accumulating the ball en masse for the entire season so far, averaging, I think, over 30 up to this point, or if not, very, very close. He's averaging 30 there. That's going really well. And Ollie Wiltshire has been doing fantastically as well. He did play today, so I suspect he probably won't be making a miraculous appearance, that there's no small forwards that are in doubt, but we'll see what happens. Awesome question about Mitch Duncan. Will he get a game this season? Ben was at the game today and commented at one point that he looked pretty... Ben, you're in the chat here, so feel free to clarify this a little bit further. But I think you said he was looking pretty sluggish. Not at all like a Mitch Duncan who's... Here we go. Duncan is absolutely cooked. 300 games seems unlikely from what I can see. He's getting possessions as he plays as a spare defender. Certainly, yeah, there we go. Cooked, he says. I didn't get to see the VFL game today. I was actually in Bendigo checking out the Easter parade with my wife and kids, which is really impressive, by the way. They've got like the longest Chinese dragon like the big ones, and people are standing under them and propping them up. The longest one in the whole Southern Hemisphere. Really impressive. It went a long way. Big dragon, unsurprisingly. Anyway, on the emergency list, I don't see. Oh, Ben says he only saw the first half of the game, to be fair. Well, what sort of supporter are you? I'm with Amy though. They will find a way to get him 300. It'll be some of those matches against a West Coast or a Richmond or a North Melbourne, something like that, where he'll get enough of those games, I think, and will tick over the line for 300, even if he is cooked. All right, let's continue with this though. The next subtopic here is around late changes. Now, for me, I don't think there's anything particularly obvious here, and I think one of the big factors, I guess, that we all need to consider when it comes to this game is the extremely long break that Geelong has had leading into this game, from a Thursday night to suddenly a Monday. Now, for mine, I think there's some stupid shit going on when it comes to fixture at the moment. There's been some really strange fixturing decisions throughout this year, and this is, I think, another one of those. To have such a long break, I don't know if it's necessarily going to be a disadvantage for Geelong, but it's just, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. And a lot of this stuff is done by a computer. They would punch in all the constraints. We want these matchups. We want this, generate, and then they'll tweak from there. But there's been some strange... One of the constraints would be, let's minimize the gaps. Let's not have 10-day gaps. What's the gap from Thursday to Monday? Yeah, 10, 11 days. Like, there's some strange stuff going on there. We've seen some weird decisions roaming with a reference to the gastro. Hopefully no gastro, but can't rule it out, I suppose. Kiri says Duncan will get his 300 sometime after the bye, hopefully done against West Coast at Kardinia Park. That would be awesome. To be able to do it in front of the home fans would be fantastic. And, mate, I know you've also had a pretty rough time of it recently, so just sending all my best to you, mate. Hopefully you're up and about and in a good place nice and soon. In terms of some absentees, I guess it's a really interesting one to kind of see what Geelong's been doing here. So Jake Cole-Jasny is listed as available, but he's not playing. I assume that's just to give him a little bit of extra time to get himself right and ready to go. Mitch Duncan, obviously, we've just discussed. Jai Clark has still been there or thereabouts, but is still on the outs at the moment. Ted Closey, we've also discussed. It leads to a little segment here on injuries and suspensions where Geelong is being, at their absolute best, really, really cagey. You get a 2B confirmed and you get a 2B confirmed. They're throwing around left, right, and center, just like Oprah here. We're being pretty non-committal when it comes to the timeline of players returning at the moment. We've got some that are more definitive. So we've got Jack Henry still listed as 2 to 4 weeks. We've got Jed Buse 4 to 7 weeks with his finger. That's rapidly closing in, which is, again, I mean, people have heard me say it a lot, and it's not because I'm biased and because because he's been on behind the play and he chats and he's really really gracious with his time. No, he's I think he's really important for Geelong going forward with his ability to lock down your Charlie Camerons and the like of the world. He's still listed 4 to 7 weeks though with that tendon in his finger. Cam Guthrie, his Achilles is to be confirmed. Tanner Bruin to be confirmed with his finger. Toby Conway, his back is to be confirmed. Jack Martin being managed to be confirmed. Mitch Edwards, management to be confirmed. Jacob Mollier with his hamstring is to be confirmed. Xavier Visick, ankle 1 week. Kyton Matafai Forbes, managed 1 week. Lennox Hoffman, back, indefinite. And Killian Burke with his knee is indefinite. We are being incredibly cagey, and Ben's just kind of popped in and kind of clarified that. Indefinite as well. I don't understand the caginess. Why do we have to be so, I don't know, just non-committal? And I'm not saying, list them to the week exactly where they're at. Like, you can still go with a range of weeks, and I've got no real concerns with that at all. But the caginess around this stuff bothers me, and it's bothered the AFL, and there was some changes, and I'm actually surprised. I'm wondering if all of our to be confirms are some byproduct of the extended week, like the extended, I guess, gap between games and when we have to publish this sort of information. Maybe there's been some sort of grey area that we've slipped into there, and if there's some grey area, the Cats are going to take advantage of it. So that's the injuries list. Ben has then provided me a little list of players. If we flick back to the team lineups here. He's highlighted some players that in his eyes would be considered under pressure, where he's named Ollie Henry, Mitch Nevitt, Oisin Mullen, and Sean Manor. Now, there's a couple of those that I would kind of throw out straight away. Yes, but we'll leave that alone, Lord Flashheart, for reasons that I've made abundantly clear on this show in the past. Not too keen to talk about it. If you want to hear what I've got to say, I've done one video that's available on Patreon through the Scratching Post platform. That's it. But Sean Manor, I wouldn't consider under pressure at all. I think he's building really nicely into his season. Like obviously had a delayed start, but I think he's building into it nicely, and he's just working towards developing that full 4-quarter form. I'm happy with the trajectory that he's currently on. Oisin Mullen, I think, had a few really, really good games, and I think he put to rest some of the concerns that people had really early on in the piece. To rest is maybe a little bit, but he'd kind of, kicked him down the curb for a little bit and, given people something else to think about when it comes to him. But he hasn't necessarily hit that same level in the most recent game or two. So he's going to be in that sort of grey area. He's going to be kind of on the fringe at any given point. He's a young developing player. I think for now he holds onto his spot. Mitch Nevitt has been in and out with Ted Closey doing what Ted Closey's been doing. I think it's going to be challenging for him. He's going to remain on the fringe throughout the course of this season. And Ollie Henry, as much as he hasn't necessarily been shooting the lights out, certainly on the scoreboard, I came in pretty hard to defend him in might have been the reaction video, maybe the Paul James show last week, where I spoke about obviously all the numbers that aren't goals, the goal assists, the score involvements, all of that is still quite good. So whilst he's not hitting the scoreboard as much himself at the moment, I'll take his output happily. Roaming then shares, give the young ones a go, and that's fair too. But I wouldn't want to do that in the Geelong and Hawthorn matchup. Let's experiment a little bit when we've got lesser opponents, and I don't mean take the piss out of those opponents. You're still, putting a lineup out there to win, but you can maybe interchange one out for another. There's opportunities there, I think. And that then takes us to a preview of this matchup where we can kind of, we'll just go back to the summary here. Not that I really need to, but we are currently 19 hours and 7 minutes away from the game as we speak. It's a 3:20 start, Monday, the 21st of April, Easter Monday at the MCG. I'm going. Hopefully some of you are as well. That will be... I'll be going in the MCC, so maybe I'll see some of you. Maybe I'll see some of you out and around the ground at different stages. I know in the past, I think the last time I actually went to a game at the MCG, the prelim final, bumped into a few people at halftime that said, Hoops Crew. So if you're there, if you're from the MCC, if you're watching this now and you see me around, I will be with my wife and kids, but feel free to say hi. It was, as I mentioned, for the Geelong and Fremantle game, it was such a pleasure to meet as many of you as I did in that particular game. Looking forward to meeting more of you again. Ben, can we shelve that Minecraft movie comment for later on? But also, fuck that movie. All right. Some expectations around this. Apparently, the crowd is expected to hit 85,000, where the current record between these two clubs for an Easter Monday, that is 80,222. That was in 2014. Look, I would expect us to come close to at least the current record, if not the 85,000. One of the big, question marks is around the weather. I don't think that it's going to play a big part. I took a look at the forecast. I think there was like a 15-20% chance of rain that was going to occur at about 1 o'clock. I'm quickly scrolling across on my phone now to try and double check that. But it didn't seem like there was any major concerns. 40% chance of rain for the day. It's about a 15% chance at 2 p.m., sorry. I don't think it's really going to have any great bearing on the game. Oh, Tim says, I'll be in the MCC with my fancy collared shirt. So will I. I look forward to exchanging comments about our collared shirts together. In fact, if we see one another, that'll be a great way to for me to identify you in the crowd. Feel free to introduce yourself by talking about collared shirts. I'll keep that in mind. I I actually don't have a reserve seat in the MCC for this one. I'll be rushing in at about 1 o'clock and claiming an unreserved seat on level 1, and then we'll see how that goes. The highest ever crowd in a home and away game between these two teams was 86,179 people. That was in 2008, round 17. That's the Jimmy Bartell kicking a behind game to win the game. Fantastic occasion. It also marks 100 years of Geelong and Hawthorn playing against one another. The first game was in 1925, and it is our 173rd match where the Cats have won 55% of our matchups. Unfortunately, as many of us Cats fans will know, a lot of those matchups, certainly at some of the key times, prelim finals, grand finals, have not necessarily gone our way, which kind of sucks. But we do have a winning record against the Hawks, and hopefully that continues. This is not one of those significant occasion matches, so we should win, right? Simple as that. Anyway, this is also the 4th annual Dare to Hope match, which is for pancreatic cancer. It includes the 400-meter gut run that'll be featuring this year. Zach Toohey, of course, Billy Brownless. There's a gut run. We'll get Billy Brownless involved, and Isaac Smith. But of course, let's not lose sight of the fact, and I recorded a video about this back in January, I think, at this point. Former Geelong captain Mickey Turner, who played 245 games for the Cats, recently passed away from this exact disease. So a really important cause, and one that certainly touched the Geelong Football Club really closely in the last few months specifically. Make sure you do, if there's, I presume there will be, if there's people collecting donations on the day, maybe bring a few coins. I know it's an issue that I've kind of had in the last few years where, I'll go to the football or I'll go somewhere and people are shaking tins, but I tap my card for everything in 2025 and have been for the last few years. Or tap my phone for the last few years. So I've not really had a way to donate. So maybe toss a few coins if you've got some floating around, or a 5, 10 or whatever it happens to be. Toss one in the wallet before you get to the game and do your bit to support the cause here. More research, the better. Recent form for these two teams. Obviously, the ladder has changed a little bit over the course of this round so far, but the Cats currently sit 7th with a 3-2 winning record, coming off consecutive wins against Melbourne and Adelaide. The Hawks are 4-1, but have just come off a loss to the Power, who initially people kind of queried and questioned because they hadn't started the season super well. Port have now gone on to beat Sydney again today as well, so they're now on a couple game winning streak. Thanks for coming along, Roaming. It's been awesome to have you. They've got a winning streak, so maybe Port aren't as bad as they at least seemed really early days. They've just had to work out their formula. Connor Rosie's now playing off half back. That's changed a few things. Maybe they're we averaged 3 pitch invaders at last year's game. Were most of those during the thunderstorm? Refresh me. Oh, hang on. At last year's match? Do you mean matches? Did we have some at GMHBA last year? I can't remember. I was at a Bucks night when we played the GMHBA game, so I'm not as sure about that one. Ben also says we averaged a 70-point winning margin against the Hawks over our first 4 games against them. Glory days. They are the glory days. Okay, all of them during the thunderstorm. Yeah, that was a good bit of fun. No one was overly concerned about the storm whatsoever, really. And my son was having a great time with it, basically being his first. It was his first game of the year at the MCG, first Geelong and Hawthorn game, first game of a crowd of that size, and we got a real spectacle with the storm, with the game, with the pitch invaders. Good fun for everyone. Some bloke slipped on his butt trying to kick a goal. Yes, I do remember that. That was a massive highlight. Ben also says the Buddy 1000 goal game had 20,000 pitch invaders. I feel like that's maybe lowballing the number a little bit. But anyway, I'm getting distracted. They are coming off, Hawthorn are coming off a loss to the Power. They were certainly stung a little bit. They fought back pretty hard in that final quarter and a half, but we'll see what impact that has, whether they come out breathing fire or not. They are missing Will Day, who I think is a really significant out for the Hawks going into a matchup with the Cats. The last time we played, the Cats got a 51-point win against the Hawks at GMHBA Stadium. I've just lost where I was at. The last 6 games, Geelong's won 5 of our last 6 against Hawthorn at a range of different venues, whether it's the MCG or GMHBA. 5 out of our last 6, which has been awesome. And 1 returned wallet by Zach Toohey. He's a good bloke, that one. Josh Caddy That's a well, I wouldn't say a deep cut. He's not that obscure, but it's been a while since we've thought about Josh Caddy. Oh, hang on, I've just skipped notes. The Cats hold a 11-3 win-loss record against the Hawks on Easter Monday, and in terms of recent finals, and that's where Josh Caddy comes into it. Our most recent final against the Hawks was 2016, the qualifying final there. The Cats beat the Hawks by 2 points. Josh Caddy goal to put Geelong ahead in the last quarter. Dangerfield had 35. Geelong would go on to lose to Sydney in the prelim final. Hawthorn bombed out in straight sets after losing to the Bulldogs in the semi-final. This was, of course, the Isaac Smith missing after the siren moment. What little did he know? He was going to be a Cat a couple of years later. Now, what's at stake in a matchup like this? And this is, look, it's a hard one because it's still round 6 that we're talking about here. So it's pretty early in the season. The stakes ultimately aren't all that high. But for the Cats, there's obviously bragging rights, and there's so much history behind this Geelong and Hawthorn, especially the Easter Monday rivalry, and I suspect that's going to fuel both teams regardless. If nothing else, there's that rivalry and that kind of hatred still of one another, professional hatred of one another. But for both clubs, there's momentum at stake. For Geelong, we've started to build a bit of form after having an early win against Freo, dropping off for 2. We've rebounded for our last 2. We can kind of keep that form rolling going into some difficult matches. Now, I don't necessarily make a huge amount of the Blues, but we'll talk about them a little bit later. But there's a series of tough games coming up. The Pies are in there. There's a few really challenging matchups on the way, and so we want to continue to build that winning momentum. It's a good feeling. And as Ben says, the stakes are always high against the Hawks. But also, if we can win, and if we can win by enough, and not a ridiculous amount, because our percentage is already in the same ballpark, but we'll slip into the top 4 off the back of a win here. If we can win by 20, 30 points, maybe even 35 plus, if anyone's aware of what the reference I'm making there, that'll get the Cats in the top 4. In terms of some game breakers for the Cats, I think the 2 most important people on the field for the Cats in this particular matchup are Tom Stewart and Zach Guthrie. It's that ability to rebound from half back that I think is going to be super, super important for us. They're not, but also obviously the ability to shut down some of those Hawthorn smalls. Again, let's quickly bring up the lineups here, and we look at the Hawthorn forward line. Now, I'm not overly worried about a Harry Morrison, nor am I overly worried about a Cam Mackenzie yet in his development. But I want to feel hopefully confident in the ability of our Geelong defenders to shut down the likes of, where is he? Jack Gunston, maybe your child, Dylan Moore, and of course the Wizard. If they can do that, but then we can utilize the strengths of a Tom. And I would say that none of those 4 that I've just mentioned, and I'm including Gunston, who's been an absolute jet for years and years, but is absolutely on the wrong side of the age ledger here. And certainly can't go with a Tom Stewart or a Zach Guthrie anymore. If we can kind of get them going the other way in terms of some of that rebound play, I think that's going to be hugely important. That's where those 2, you can toss a Lawson Humphreys in there as well, a Connor O'Sullivan. Also, those players are really going to be important for us in terms of cutting off those forward thrusts, but then being huge links in the chain, bringing the ball up the other end of the ground. The keys to victory, I've just kind of alluded to that a little bit. The rebounding from the back half needs to be spot on, and there's certainly opportunity to exploit Hawthorn in that regard. And centre clearance. I keep talking about clearances. It's the go-to thing every single time. Tom Atkins has been doing a phenomenal job. Danger's been going in there and doing some great work. We've been starting to break even in the centre clearance count in the last few weeks, or thereabouts. Lord Flashart. I also like a forward thrust, but we'll move on from that. You've distracted me now. If we can kind of continue to at least break even in that centre clearance facet of the game, that's going to be huge for us. So I think those 2, I guess, cogs are probably the 2 most important ones for the Cats in this particular matchup. As for a final result, I've got us winning by 4 goals. So I don't think it's going to be the nail, but I mean, I say that, and you know what a Geelong and Hawthorn game delivers. I'm going based on face value and what I think should happen. Then there's the reality of the fact that these two teams only know how to play nail biters, and so it could end up being a single-digit margin in the end. But I've got the Cats winning by 4 goals, so 24 points in this particular matchup. And now we're making lots of sexual references. Congratulations, good work, Ben. All right. It's time to go around the grounds here. We're going to jump to our match center. We're going to start to look at some of the other matchups that have been played so far in round 6. Of course, I don't have the actual goal behind breakdown here, but you can see kicking the round off Thursday night, the Pies made a big statement against a admittedly fairly sluggish Brisbane, winning by 52 points there at the Gabba. The Good Friday matchup between North Melbourne and Carlton was a bit of a farce. North, I think there needs to be some questions about whether they should still. I know whether they should be the team that gets to host the Good Friday matchup. Essentially, I understand the hows and whys, and I know we're there, and I know we don't want it to be a Carlton, Richmond, Hawthorn, Essendon, etc. Like the big clubs. We don't want it to be one of the big clubs. But I don't like they've lost 7 out of 8 of these. And a lot of them pretty comprehensively. I know what we want, but I just don't know if that. I just don't know if they really deserve it, to be honest. The Eagles and Essendon game ended up being a bit of a nail biter. The Eagles leading for most of it, Essendon pinching at the end. But of course, they have lost Sam Draper in the process. He's done his Achilles and is gone for the season, which is really unfortunate news for them. But further backs up my point that Essendon will be bottom 4 before the end of the year. They barely got over the line against West Coast in this particular matchup. I did see freezer stock here with RIP my tipping. This week sucks. This has been a horrible week for it. It makes me anxious about tomorrow. I also haven't scrolled down to look at the Dogs and Saints game since we started. So I don't know where that game is at and whether that's doing good things or bad things for my tipping. Don't put it in the comments. We're going to get there in a moment. So the D's getting a 10-point win against the Dockers. The Dockers have just proven that they are just somehow irrelevant still. Despite having a pretty damn good list, they are the flakiest football club in the competition right now. Now, the D's were up and about, and they copped a lot of criticism, and it certainly seems to have stuck with a few of their leaders. But, geez, they should have been right for the picking still, and Freo flubbed it. The ugliest game of the year this year, and one of the games with the worst skills, and I'm going to check the disposal efficiency while we're at it, goes to this Adelaide and GWS game because that was absolutely woeful, the standard of football between two teams that should be featuring pretty prominently over the course of the year. What's the disposal efficiency? How is it that high for GWS? How is it that high? How is Adelaide's even as high as it is? It looks so much worse than that. Shit. I mean, disposal efficiency inside 50 has killed them. Didn't realize it was as high as that for general disposal efficiency. And the goal kicking was... What an awful game of football. But congrats to Adelaide because they've needed to take a scalp, and they have. Richmond surprising everyone with a win against the Suns to the tune of 11 points. Dimmer and his teams just do not like playing at Marvel. And then earlier today, oh good, there's at least a result that's going my way. Port surprised again. I think I tipped the Swans in this particular matchup. Port got the win against the Swans to the tune of 8 points. The Swans came hard late, but did not get the win in the end. Whilst at least something is going our way at the moment. The Dogs were doing what the Dogs should. They are up by 28 points, and it is just hit half time. Let's take a quick look and see how Bont is going. There's also a big piece of news coming out of that game involving Sam Darr. Oh my God, Bont. 20 disposals, 2 goals, 1. He is the best player the Western Bulldogs have ever had. And he's still got, 5-6 years left, at least? What a freak. He's so good. But yes, and you can kind of see the clip here that appeared. I'll bring it back, sorry. Sam Darcy with a knee scare. Where did that clip go? There it is. We'll project it here on the screen. We're going to get an ad probably. We'll mute it. Come on. It's not a good look. But Toyota, right? I don't know what sort of car we're advertising. It's a Toyota, of course. AFL. Larkins has probably had a little bit to say about this. Let me know if him or anyone has shared any thoughts about Sam Darcy and his knee so far. All right. Yeah, that's where I'm at on that particular one at the moment. Let's go to the chat for a little bit here. Freezes, man, I really want to buy a Toyota right now. I'm due for a car. I need to get something that's at least a hybrid. Toyotas are pretty good in that regard. I just need money. Anyone with a I don't know a $35,000 super chat wants to buy me a car or at least go towards a car? That'd be great. Geelong heavily into Zach Butters. I believe the term used was knee deep. Well, it's better than saying balls deep. Yeah, I mean, look, I obviously put the video up about Zach Butters. What was that? A week or so ago now. And look, I think there's plenty of reason to believe that we'd be in this race up to our eyeballs. The big question is, of course, when. I think for Zach Butters, he's not out of contract until the end of next year. But of course, there's so much conversation that is suggesting that if when Ken goes, he goes. The relationship between those two is super tight. I think the greatest pitch that Geelong can make is Danders is helping fund my new Toyota. Only $34,997 to go. Also, nice to see you, Danders. Uh, Pussy Sniffer put the kids to bed. Yeah, we've made balls deep references. We've been talking about pelvic thrusting, forward thrusts. I think it was. Yeah, it's been a show tonight. So now I've completely forgotten what we were talking about. Donations come through, inappropriate references, and it's completely. I'm gone. I've got no idea what I was talking about. Anyway, the ladder. We'll take a look at the ladder here just to get a bit of a sense for where things are at, pending result from Geelong and Hawthorn tomorrow. We'll bring up the live ladder here. Oh, that's right. Butters have been up there. When Danger becomes a commentator, I mean, sure, that's right. Butters we were talking about. I think Ken Hinkley could be a big part of it. And obviously with his enormous Geelong history, he's stepping away as head coach. Maybe you could bring in as a part-time assistant coach. Just one day a week. I can. Like, you can basically just retire if that's what you want. But come to the Cats and bring your mate Zach Butters with you. I believe I was maybe having some audio issues there. I think it was noise gating out. I've just pushed the mic a little bit further away. So apologies for that one. Let me know if there's any issues going forward. Thank you, Ben, for taking me off there. Let's quickly run through some of these comments before we look at them actually. So, would you prefer Butters or Barnes? I mean, Butters. As much as so, it was really fascinating to see the thoughts from a lot of people last week about. Like I put up the video about Jamara, basically like a part two, following up from my video earlier in the preseason about Jamara and whether he could potentially come to Cats. And of course, things have degraded a little bit. No, not even a little bit, actually, a lot since. There's a lot about the AFL intervening, potential ways that they could get him off the list, maybe pay him out and be done with it. We don't have a brand more forward thrust on the mic. You reckon I need to get closer? Let's see how that goes. Nice and close. Yeah, we're not like franchise stuff like what we see in a lot of American sports, where if you go far enough, you can just be cut because you're not. Oh, someone please get in the loop with what's going on with my audio. I'm getting comments from all directions. We'll see what happens. I might also try and fix it when I've got the Cyril Cook ad coming up. So yeah, Jamara. I don't know. I would choose Zach Butters right now because he's a far safer bet, and he's going to cost maybe $50,000 worth of fines over the next little while. So we'll see what happens there. Apparently, the Freezes Back says the audio is wicked right now. I don't know if that's still being. Jackie says I sound like I'm underwater. Now that could be I'm a little bit nasally and I'm like a bit blocked up. So we'll see how that goes. I will mess with audio while the ads are on. In fact, let's do that right now. We'll take an ad from Cyril Cook Forest, and we'll come back and look at the ladder.
The Hoops Crew Media Network is proudly sponsored by Cyril Cook Florist. Visit them at shop 1211 Leather Street in Breakwater. Phone them on 035 222 2244 or visit their website at www.cyrilcookflorist.com.au and use the offer code GOCATS in the voucher field at checkout to get 20% off your next online purchase.
Thank you, Cyril Cook Forest, as always, for your ongoing support of the Hoops Crew. Let me see how things are going now. I know that ad would have come through fine. I believe StreamYard's been having a lot of issues with just the mic lately and noise gates and those sorts of things. I've got one potential fix that I'll try and implement right now because there's a feature that automatically adjusts the mic volume. If I turn that off, my levels might be out, so please let me know if I need to turn it up louder or quieter. But let me see if this works. How's that, everyone? Let me know, do I need to turn it up, down, whatever, because I can adjust and I can give the mic a little bit of extra space now as well. So Jackie says sounds better, but that might have been before I made the change. So let me know how it's all going, and we'll see if we need to make some further adjustments. But in the meantime, let's take a look at the ladder. And again, pending the Geelong and Hawthorn result, pending the current result between the Bulldogs and the Saints as well. You can see the Pies are now out in front, 5-1, going very, very strong. Got a great percentage. It was better before the change. All right, let me go back. Let's see how that goes now. Toggle it back again. We'll see what happens. The Cats, so the Pies 5-1. The Lions, with their loss, now 5-1. It's still fluctuating weirdly according to Freezer stock. I'm so confused why StreamYard has been shit like this. The mic, I use this for a million shows that do and don't involve StreamYard, and I don't have issues with anything that doesn't involve StreamYard. So then, Gold Coast coughing up their first game. Of course, like it's a weird circumstance for them because they are one game less than everyone else played. But they are now 4-1 with their first loss of the season. Brendan with an exceptional I would have allowed you to use the full language uncensored, but that's all right. Understood. The Giants 4-2, the Crows 4-2, the Hawks 4-1. The Cats the opportunity to jump to that 4-2 group and potentially overtake. You can see them overtaking the Giants and the Crows, and obviously the Hawks if we get the win. But we'd have to win by a lot to overtake the Suns. But that's all right. It's round 6. No big deal there when it comes to specifics. Top 8. We just want to be climbing up the ladder as much as we possibly can. Freo have slipped into the top 8 there, 3-3. The Dogs 3-3 if this continues. All 3-3. The Saints 3-3. The Bombers 3 wins, 2 losses from their 5 games so far. That's more than I expected, but I don't expect to win 2-4. The Blues 2-4. They're now 2 straight. The Swans 2-4, looking pretty bad for them at the moment because the Tigers, who everyone expected to be winless for the season, have won just as many games as they have. North and the D's with 1 win apiece, and the Eagles currently without a win. Ben says 0% of the poll has picked Hawthorn to win. Well done, Cats fans. We continue to prove how biased we in fact are. But whatever. Fuck the Hawks. Hang on. Yeah, I'll lean right into Brennan's thing. Fuck the Hawks. All right. Another result, another game that was played today, relating to Cats here, was in the VFL. We alluded to it, Ben saw half of it, and basically saw a good half. In the second half, things went real pear-shaped. We ended up getting flogged by Box Hill, starting off relatively strongly. We went down by 46 points, 11-7-73 to 18-11-119. I think we were paying a price for having some of our, primo midfielders out, or potentially there for last-minute selection. Jai Clark, 26 disposals, though, continues to do a good job. And I'm looking for other AFL listed players here. Mitch Duncan with 23 disposals and 8 marks. Jack Ginnivan made his statement coming back into the second scheme, 4 goals, 2 for the Hawks. George Stevens playing limited time, 21 disposals. Rechko with 21 again, continuing to do quite well. And Joe Pike with the 12 disposals with 17 hitouts. Old favourite Oscar Riccardi with 11 disposals. Nathan Kruger with 3 goals too. Pick that man up in the mid-season draft, will you please? Jake Hawkinghorn with 3 goals, 1 continues to make a statement. But Jackie also shouts out that we only had 7 AFL listed players in the game. They had 14. Well, Luke with 6 disposals again. Limited game time, I would suspect in that particular case. Kerry has just popped in. And everyone in the chat, just a reminder that there's a $500 super chat coming if the Cats can win by 35 points or more tomorrow. Gee whiz. I thought that was all a bit of a joke. Apparently it's continuing. Very much appreciated if it happens. But we'll see what happens. Next week, asking and I forward to the games of next week. Before we get into some Q&A for the night, next week's matchups. It begins Thursday night. We continue with Thursday night football. The very enticing matchup of Melbourne and Richmond. Battle for pick 1 at this point. No, didn't the D's get their first pick to Essendon or something? Correct me if I'm wrong. I think Essendon has Melbourne's first pick in the draft. So for as bad as they go, Essendon just wins from that one. Yeah, that's a very highly ignorable match. You'd imagine the D's. Surely the D's. The Anzac Day game on Friday, the Pies and the Bombers, as well as Rio and Adelaide, the other iconic Anzac Day game. Saturday, Saints and the Lions at Marvel, Port and North at Adelaide Oval. Monica plays host to an always fascinating matchup of the Giants versus the Dogs. Suns and the Swans on the Sunday, the Cats and the Blues at the MCG, and then wrapping up the round, the Hawks and the Eagles. Another really fascinating matchup. And Freezer confirms that, yes, Essendon has Melbourne's first pick in the draft. So congratulations, Bombers. Surely you can't screw this pick up. But knowing your luck, Melbourne will go surging up the ladder now and you'll get like pick 18 or something. We'll see. Anyway, those are the games next week. Of course, the centerpiece is the Anzac Day matchup between Collingwood and Essendon. I'll be watching, and I'm sure many of you will be as well. The Hawks also have Carltons. Oh, God. That's awful. No, how did we do that? How did I remember the deal now, actually. That's Nick, you balls that up. You could have done that deal with any other club other than Hawthorn. Why did it have to be the Hawks? Right. What we'll do is we'll jump into some Q&A now. Feel free, drop some super chats. If you've got some particular thoughts you want shouted out. We'll keep the game is still half time at the moment, but we'll keep and the Saints scoreboard up there just so we can keep a bit of an eye on that as the game goes on. Dodoro has left. You can't fuck it up that badly, right? Dodoro is gone, but of course the club is still paying the price for his horrible decision making over many, many years. But you'd think they can't screw it up. There's some pretty good young blokes in this draft. So you'd like to think, if you're a Bomber supporter, that you can't cook this one up again. But if any club could find a way right now, it's probably Essendon. All right, we've got some talking points here, and I'm looking for thoughts from people when it comes to this one. Who are your top 4 favourites for the flag right now? What I mean by that is the Cats and what 3 other teams are going to be the ones vying for a premiership. Ben has come up with the very original nickname, and I'm going to be doing Enough of the Week on this clown, which will go live tomorrow. Noah Belter. Should he have been selected for the Tigers? Check out the Enough of the Week video that will go live tomorrow where I'll talk about that in more detail. Absolutely not. And Damien Barrett actually said it really well today. And I know not a lot. Damien Barrett can be pretty divisive to people, but he said, and I wholeheartedly support what he said, is that next time Richmond goes to make some sort of I know there's a lot of people say, let footballers play football. It is football, not an opportunity for a social thing. But that's the reality of the world that we're in, is that there's lots of opportunities to kind of make social stands against different things. And I think some of those are really important stands to make as well. But the next time Richmond comes out and says, we stand for this, I don't know how seriously I can take it. It's you let a guy who's days away from going to court for assault and getting a sentence. He's already pled guilty. You let him go and play football and kind of get idolised, and then get to a point where the Richmond crowd are cheering for him and booing Mac Andrew. Fucking hell, mess. But let me know your thoughts in the comments when it comes to Noah Belcher and what should or should happen there. But stay tuned for enough of the week. We'll be going up tomorrow before the game, nice and early tomorrow, where we can go through that topic in a bit more detail. Are Carlton back? Absolutely not. Yes, the phrase sorry was he's been punished enough. That is bullshit. He hasn't been punished at all yet. He's about to go to court and get his sentence. But anyway. Are Carlton back? No. They've beaten North and they've beaten they beat this week? They beat North, and then who they beat the week before? Let me quickly check the match last week. It was a no-name team. It was and the Eagles. They beat North and the Eagles. In fact, actually, that's right. I remember seeing something today. Out of their last 15 matches, they won 4. Both have been against North twice and West Coast twice. They're not in a good place. They're in a really bad place. And reality's hitting with a bit of a thud. But anyway, Cripper can say they're up and about and they're back and try and G out the troops. Hopefully, a comment like that doesn't come back and bite me going into next week's match. Should the Sydney fan be banned for throwing an object at Ali? If anyone has not seen that footage yet, there was a Sydney supporter that looks like maybe threw an AFL record or one of those plastic stretch-out banner things. Threw it at Ali. Ali gave him an earful for it, deservedly so. That kid, he looked like he's 18, 19. But that individual should be banned this season. Sucked in, mate. Don't worry, the Swans aren't going to be playing finals this year the way they're going, so not much anyway. Consider it a blessing. Will Sam Draper be at Essendon in 2026? That is going to be a really fascinating one now, because he can't add to his stock for the rest of the year. Cannot, there's no improvement now. And if anything, his stock loses value now because there's an unknown of an injury. So, and I'm sure part of the delaying of his contract signing is linked to, well, let me have a really good season, let me try and have a good season, and then add some value to my work. It's not happening anymore. So maybe he signs pretty quickly. I don't know. Could be an interesting one. You won't have much to do. You can sign on the bottom line and then just nick off in 6 months. Go on a holiday. That'll be probably really important for the guy. Maybe you get a haircut while he's at it and lose that horrific null. If he's still got it. You still got it? Should teams be punished for making changes? Is a question here. Now, again, let me know. We've also just still got the phrase "he's been punished enough" in there. Should clubs be punished for making changes? Absolutely not, as far as I'm concerned. And that's simply due to the fact that Isaac Gastro, we heard it last week and the week before when it came to Tom Stewart, and then Blitzer. You can't. Someone vomits. Someone starts projectile vomiting. Someone busts their ankle in the warm. You've got to make a change. People making a mountain out of a molehill when it comes to Geelong, and they're like changes. Other clubs do it as well, which has become the focal point because people want to hate us. They want to take us down. Who will be the next captain of Geelong? That is a fantastic question. It's one that I'm hoping people in the chat can get around that particular comment and share your thoughts. Now, who would be the next captain of Geelong? I feel like Max Holmes is coming on with a head of steam at the moment. But I could also see Tom Stewart stepping into the void for a couple of years, giving Max a little bit more time. I also don't know. Max hasn't necessarily demonstrated too much to me yet that makes me think he wants to be a captain. Not that he's incapable, but he wants to be a leader like that. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think about Max Holmes or any other potential future captain. Tom Atkins into Connor O'Sullivan would be a really fascinating one as well. And yeah, like you said, short and long term, I think that's a really fascinating prospect. Freezer, now I have no idea. I haven't even touched the mic, so it definitely hasn't come loose. I'm not too sure, sorry, when it comes to issues. Uh, when will Dangerfield's run of consecutive games, 18, come to an end? Ben, Ben provides these notes, just for anyone who's unaware. Ben suggested, put this little statistic up in our WhatsApp chat for all the hoops team, and I screamed and shouted him as much as I could scream and shout him in text form. You say a thing like that, you clown. You're trying to will an injury onto him. Hopefully, it doesn't come to an end. But there's also that the conversation about him getting a break, getting a rest every now and then. So maybe come round 10. I don't know who we play in round 10, but maybe round 10 might be when he gets that break. Maybe he gets 22, 23 games before he gets a spell. And who will be better? And of course, I guess it's a fascinating one because of the what ifs, the butterfly effects of things here. Nate Caddy, that Essendon picked up for Connor O'Sullivan. Who's going to be better? I mean, we're Cats fans. It's Connor O'Sullivan, right? Let me know your thoughts on a variety of those questions. But let's go back to some of the stuff that's been asked in the chat. Because I saw Freezer Stock say Richmond shouldn't have even considered selecting Bolter or TBH. I didn't think it would have made a difference in the game, but they won. So hey, I don't think it's worth playing him. Look, I think we focus on the football side of things. Noah Bolter was hugely important in that match and probably helped Richmond hold on in the end. They were under siege in that quarter, and he played a big part in staving off Gold Coast. So I guess if you look at it through a football lens, easy to see why he'd selected. But again, going back to this societal point, he's assaulted someone. He's pending a court verdict in a matter of 2 or 3 days. He just shouldn't have been selected. And it is a terrible example for young Richmond players who they're trying to bring through that. We're not going to penalise you. You hook some bloke at a pub, but don't worry, you can play. Once you feel like you've done the time that you've been punished enough, quote unquote, even though you haven't received a sentence yet, we'll let you play football. Bullshit. Where are we? Jackie said Tom Atkins and then into Connor O'Sullivan. Appreciate the logic there. Tom Stewart is, that's my pick in the short term. Won't happen in a million years, but I go to war with Reece Stanley's cap. As long as he gives me a bit of land on the farm, then I'm okay with that. What do I think about Willie Rioli's comments about Hawthorn? I mean, as Geelong supporters, we can all get around it. Fuck Hawthorn. But in his particular case, for his particular reasons, yeah, it's a really difficult one. Like, there's history there, obviously, and regardless of clearly, I mean, the Hawthorn Cyril Rioli thing settled off the record, but clearly based on what Willie is saying here, I'd imagine there's clearly still a dissatisfaction with the final result and what came of it. So I understand if that's the case, there's an ongoing frustration or hatred. I'm glad that he got the chance to clarify and say that it wasn't a hatred of the current list, that it is the club, the club specifically. He's got obviously a great relationship with Sam Mitchell. It's some of the leaders, the people who've made decisions. A lot of his hatred is to the club, but not at the current form. It's a weird one. It's a messy one. And obviously, when it comes to this, there's a combination of rational and irrational thinking that comes into it, but underpinned by a whole lot of hurt. And I don't blame him for the hurt, especially if all the allegation stuff is actually true. The reason these things often get settled behind the scenes is because they don't want the accusations to be public. So, I suspect they were legit. So that's where we're at on that one. Fraser says Atkins is a bull, but I don't think he's a captain. Yeah, I agree. Seems like a quiet achiever to me, but definite leads with example, and very rarely have we seen him play a game without a strong effort. Zach Butters captain in 2027, Harley Reid in 2029. Butters 27, Ben can get around too. Deep forward thrust. It's become an R-rated show now. Sam Darcy, GM of football, Matty Egan. Come back. Medical staff are fearing the worst. ACL. It's a sad update. To me, yeah, having seen enough of these horror stories over the years, to me that seemed like a hyperextension. But that would be awful if that's the case. Did Luke Darcy do an ACL back in the day? Wikipedia suggests yes. Final preseason for Darcy re-injured the ACL during a fall, which dislocated his knee, which would mean he missed the entire 2006 season. 4 ACL injuries during the season. Yeah, it's a bit of a shame. JL says the Kennett curse from 09 to 13 was real. It was real, but what I will say, and I see a lot of Geelong supporters, for obvious reasons, look back very fondly upon the Kennett curse. For me, there was obviously lots of great moments along the way, and we think about Jimmy Bartell's behind. We think about, I think a lot of people think about Jimmy Bartell's behind, but I mean the one he kicked between the sticks. Tom Hawkins and the goal after the siren, and many other really amazing moments along the way. For me, the Kennett curse was fun, but ultimately hurts because it was bookended by a grand final loss and a prelim final loss. So for me, we can say we won 13, how many it was straight, 12, 13, whatever it got up to in the end. And some of those were finals as well. Like we beat Hawthorn in some qualifying finals, never a knockout. And it was bookended by by a grand final loss to Hawthorn and a prelim final loss that led to a premiership. For me, the Kennett curse sucks. At its core, I hate the whole Kennett curse thing. Hawthorn got us when it mattered. And at the end of the day, just felt kind of right. Despite all the wins in the middle. He was right. I hate that. Yes, it applies to the Victorian Liberal Party too. When is Bianca eligible for the AFL draft, and when will she be selected? Brandon, over to you. That'll be a Nick Davis style episode. I'm not. I don't know if I'm mentally prepared for that. I was there that day. Anyone else in the chat go to 08 grand final? Let me know your thoughts on that day. It was horrible. Maybe you've repressed it for the most part, like I have. All I talk about when it comes to that one is the fact that I had to leave straight away, so I didn't have to absorb what had happened much. I had to leave straight away to go to work. Oh, shitful occasion. All right. Yeah, how about with some questions? As we can see, the Dogs are starting to extend that lead a bit further. There we go. She's only 9, maybe another 10 years. I mean, there was some kid who's like 14 years old, made his debut in the IPL the other day. You can always get in early. Rules are made to be broken if the player's good enough. Bianca's good enough. She's got to play for the Cats. Can we, Brent, since we're here and on the topic, we're going to start this right now. So when Bianca gets picked up, I say when Bianca gets picked up, and there's only a 1 in 18 chance that it can be the Cats. Probability speak, ignoring all the other variables. 1 in 18 chance that Bianca is selected for the Geelong Football Club. Can we just make it crystal clear now that when she's out of contract, she leaves and comes to Geelong? There's no ifs, buts, or maybes. Trade to Geelong, finish the career there. No. Some reflections. We'll ignore Ben here. We don't talk about it. We're going to talk about it a little bit here, and then we'll bury it. Brennan says, "Yeah, I was at the 08 grand final. I'm in the background when Shane Crawford screams. That's what I'm talking about." Oh, that was stuck because you have to see it every time. Jake said, "I will never sit in those seats ever again." Fair enough too. I was there. Says Heidi will always be the one who got away. 100%. No, it will continue to hurt. What have we got here? Just taking a look at the poll. That's the Easter Monday one. Ben's going to. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Ben's reference. Someone's picked Hawthorn. Someone's picked Hawthorn to win tomorrow. It's probably JL as a West Coast supporter. Hey, JL, WA. Langer popped in. And Brendan co-signs my point. And Bianca says yes. Thank you, Bianca. Very much looking forward to seeing you in the hoops one day, even if it's not right away. Start sowing the seeds now. In fact, you already are. The two of you are like all over the Cats, the men's and women's teams. They know you. They love you. They'll make sure that you're there. Get that fat paycheck from Morris Finance. All right. I did actually see this comment earlier on. I missed it. So sorry. Glad you brought it back, Freezer. What do you think of Scratch's player? Do you think he has what it takes to be a Hawkins level player? No, I don't think he's a level player. But let's keep in mind that Tom Hawkins is the most capped Geelong player of all time. He's right up there with the most goals we've kicked of all time. He's like in terms of body, like a physical body in this current day and age. He's got a body that basically no other players do. He's very much a unicorn in the Victor Wembanyama sort of unicorn sort of way. He's a unicorn in this current game. So I think Scratch will be in the end a really valuable player to the Geelong Football Club. But no, he's not going to be. He's going to be a good Geelong player who might finish his career having kicked a few goals. He might be looked at, and I hate to sound like too disrespectful when I say this. He might be like a Cam Mooney, who we're always going to look back upon really fondly, but there's a gulf between what Cam Mooney accomplished and what Tom Hawkins accomplished, for example. That sort of difference, where he'll offer a lot. He might win premierships for us. Hopefully he does. Hopefully be really important in one way. He'll be a great contributor, but he's not a Tom Hawkins, I don't think. Jackie also stresses, but I don't think we win 2009 if we didn't lose that one. That's what drove them. Yeah, I think there's a bit to that. And then it becomes a choice. Do you want 08? Do you want 09? I was at the Geelong right 1992 after we lost. That was fun. I was 3. Lord Flashlight. So keep filling the poll with Geelong votes here. That percentage is creeping back up. It'll never get back to 100% again, but we're at 97% Geelong, 3% Hawthorn. Just don't play for Hawthorn, please, Bianca. Well, I mean, I would say if Bianca gets picked up by Geelong, she signs on the dotted line, takes their money, and then refuses to play. Don't go all Jamara about it. Nothing crazy on behind the scenes. No, sorry, can't. In good conscience, I can't. Thank you for your money. Trade me to Geelong. She can do the reverse Cooper Stevens, but then come to Geelong and be successful. Hawkins could play now. He's kicking snags from 60 for Finley. Yeah, did anyone see that? Chris Scott referenced it in his press conference. He got asked about Hawkins a few goals, including one. He's that perfect left to right from the boundary, floating back nicely from the boundary. And it was a long way out. Somebody got asked about it. He hadn't seen it. He was actually surprised that Hawk hadn't seen in footage already. So that's. We'll see. But it looks like he could play still now. He's doing a good job. Fraser asks, do you think Ollie Henry or Scratch and Neil will be more important up forward? Is that a fair comparison? Is it a fair comparison? I mean, no. Like one is a key forward, one is your third tall. But who will be more important? So I spoke about this, I think, with the previous episode of the Paul James Show, or maybe in the reaction, or maybe both, whatever it was. I think Ollie Henry right now is struggling a little bit in terms of hitting the scoreboard. He's struggling with Danger's presence, trying to work out where he fits within that forward line with Danger doing what Danger is currently doing. And LB, I'm going to jump to your ranking the grand finals, but please chat, go for it in the meantime. That's an awesome question to ask. Dogs are home at this point, you'd think. In this day and age, you can never rule it out, but you would think so. Player stats is Bont kicked more than what's he on now? Oh, he's gone a bit quiet this third term. He's only had 3 disposals and another shot on goal. But so yeah. Anyway, when it comes, so I think Neil's going to be more important because he is that key position forward, the traditional one, and structurally that he's more important to the Geelong lineup than what Ollie Henry is. I think Ollie can, if he can sort out where his place is within this forward line with Paddy Dangerfield, with Scratch Neil, and with Jeremy Cameron around him, then I think he'll get himself back to his 1.5 to 2 goals a game form, and things will be great. Again, please keep in mind his score involvements and goal assist, like those figures are great. They track. It's just the actual hitting the scoreboard himself. So he's probably short 1 or 2 disposals a game at the moment. That's ultimately the difference between an Ollie Henry who's lighting up and has no questions asked about him, and the Ollie Henry that we're dealing with at the moment, who is still performing to a high standard as far as I'm concerned, but is not hitting one specific KPI, the most important KPI as a forward. He's not hitting the mark in that particular area, and so questions are being asked. He'll need to work out his place within that forward line, but structurally, Shannon Neal's more important. So the question was from LB, rank the grannies from most to least. So of the 4 grand finals, I've attended 3 of them. And the one that I missed is the one that as a spectacle was the best, 2009. Ben's just highlighted too that he's dropped a new poll there. So make sure you share your thoughts on the poll. So I missed 09, which is shit. I hate that that's the grand final that I missed. My employers at the time, and I think I've told this story on the show, the boss and her family were all St Kilda supporters, and it was a family business, so they went to the game but still wanted the shop to open. So it became the Geelong supporter that had to open the shop. Now, of course, they lose the game. They come back to their place of employment, the place that they own, and see me in the doorway with a big shit-eating grin all over my face. So they then sent me home pretty quickly. I got paid. They paid me out in full what I was meant to get paid, but they sent me home because they didn't want to have to deal with me. And fair enough too, because I would have been the most insufferable prick for the next 3 hours, and I probably had to work in the pizza shop that night. I made myself a free pizza and went home. So 2009 really, I mean, for the game itself, that's obviously the best. The toe poke, the chappy goal that came from it, the theatre of the whole thing, all of it. The Harry Taylor mark at the end. As a grand final, that is the best one. But then to the core of your questions, because we're talking about the favourite one, I'll say 09 for the spectacle. But there's a big star next to it because I never, like every other game I went to. So then we look at the rest. 07 has to be the next best because it broke the drought. 50 plus years of pain for so many people. And I'd been around for only like half of that. Not even half of that at that point. But so much pain within my family as Geelong supporters, and for so many of you watching as well. Breaking the drought, despite it being not the greatest spectacle because we won by so much, it was just a party all day. And so I look back upon that so fondly. From there, I can't believe 2011, which was probably the best of the grand finals that I had in terms of the actual grand final, the best of the grand finals. It's probably going to be last because 2022, it's things like Joel Selwood. It's the moments. It's Joel Selwood's goal. And what was so obvious in that moment that, he was going to retire. The tears, there's so much emotion. And I think we all, had a really deeply personal stake in the Cats winning this grand final beyond just being supporters of the club. We were really emotionally tied up in this after so many years of getting so close. Danger finally getting one, and to kind of, cement himself with where he is within the pantheon of AFL players. Tom Hawkins getting back to the top of the mountain. So many players who'd been kicking the door down for years at Geelong finally getting one. Hell, Levi Ablett at the beginning of the day with Joel carrying him out. So for me, 09 as a football match, 07 for breaking the drought, 22 and 2011. That's my ranking personally. But let's take a look through the comments. Jackie says 2011 will always be the best as they broke the ice of the dynasty that we've become as a football club. 2009 toe poke, goated, can't convince me otherwise. Fuck you, Ben. The memory of seeing Brendan Goddard cry with his messed up nose burns in my mind. 2009 was the first winning grand final I saw live after sitting through 94, 95, and 08. Shout out to 1963 Premiership that gave us Hawthorn tears. 2009 toe poke being shouted out. I had a friend invite me to the 2009 grand final, included the grand final breakfast at Melbourne Park. I never drank wine at 9 a.m. It was such a surreal experience. Brendan, you know what I'm going to say here. It's always 5 o'clock somewhere. So don't stress about what time you're drinking. I think Selwood's goal trumps the toe poke for me, actually. Again, I think, and I'm projecting for you a little bit, Freezer, here. I spoke about it myself a moment ago. I think it's that personal investment that we all had in the club's success, but also Joel, for it to end the way that it did, with a premiership, with so much emotion tied up in it. 22 carries so much. It's freshest though, so there's a little bit of bias as well. Yeah, there's a lot of me that wants to go with 22 actually, but there's plenty of other reasons, emotional reasons as well. 07, for all that it meant. You know, I think about, you know, obviously I was there on the day, but I then think about watching the TV footage back and the cameras panning down to the race and seeing Billy Brownless in tears in the race and how much it meant to him and so many other people who would have been there on the day or were watching it from home, who'd seen so much heartache. All those players through the 80s and 90s who lost grand final after grand final after grand final. And I think, yeah, just the significance of 2007 and to Jackie's point before, what it created for a dynasty that's continued on still to this day. We're getting close to 20 years since that grand final, and Geelong has been there or thereabouts ever since, pretty much. Yeah, it's huge. 2011 was the most skilled grand final. If it was closer, it would have been the best grand final of the 2000s. Both Pies and Cats were superb that day, insane skills. And of course, the emergence of Tom Hawkins during the game. This explosion of an individual who then became, well, he's now the most capped cat, and he's right up there with it. Like, he's one of the most beloved. Everything he did that day, like he became the Tom Hawkins that we've known and celebrated and discussed just earlier on this particular stage. Fraser says 1925 grand final was pretty good. Plenty of sherry drank that day. Amy voted for 22 because purely because no one deserved to be a premiership captain more than Joel. All those prelims and the 2020 grand final paid off a little with that. Absolutely, it felt like vindication. The old vindication at last thing that had been thrown out back in 2009 after we won there. I think 2022 was the real vindication. Now, I'm sure I saw a question from, Freezer asked a question before. You could take any player right now from any team in the league. Who do you take and slot into our team? It's got to be, I think for me, it's got to be it's got to be someone in the midfield. Because we've got great key defenders and versatility there as well, and versatility through that whole defensive unit. Obviously, Jack. I'm kind of working on the assumption here that everyone is fit, by the way. So Jack Henry's back out there. That you've got Sam de Koning that can float through there. You've got an amazing defensive unit. We don't need anyone in that space. I think about our forwards, and obviously we've got an amazing complement of small forwards. You've got Jeremy Cameron, Paddy Dangerfield, and Scratch O'Neill, who's continuing to develop, and I mean that's a really potent forward line. Actually, yeah, sorry, Jackie just says great question, LB. Fantastic. That was a really great one. Nice to go down memory lane. But then the midfield, we're obviously doing so well with a Max Holmes and a Bailey Smith. The various others that kind of move through there. Tom Atkins, of course. We've got a great complement of midfielders go through, but if we could have one more, we're talking about we're talking about the West Coast of 2004-05. We're talking about the Brisbane of 2001 through to 4, really. Midfield, we're talking about Max Holmes, Bailey Smith, and who's that player going to be? He's playing right now, Marcus Bontempelli. Bont's the guy. Currently sitting on 26 disposals, 2 goals, 1. For me, if there was any one player from the competition right now that we would pick up, I'd go, is it Bont or do I go a Ruckman? Oh, and Jackie's just made that exact point. Sorry, it says, sorry, we need a Ruckman. No, I don't think we need a Ruckman that significantly. No, I'd go another primo midfielder. I'd go Marcus Bontempelli. Wins it inside and out, and then you can feed it to your Bailey Smiths. They can reunite. Your Bailey Smiths, your Max Holmeses. You've got your Tom Atkins that can bury his way through that contest as well. I think he is the perfect middle ground between the inside and out player. I do see the comments here, TDK being nice, so and kind of leading into the Ruckman comment, but because I'm working on this assumption that we are fully fit. We've got the versatility of a Reece Stanley, of a Toby Conway, of a Sam De Koning, all these guys coming through. So yeah, I think I'd want one more primo midfielder. I mean, this goes back to, and actually, Brendan's just referenced his name too, referencing Gary Ablett Jr. Seriously, I hope the Suns fold one day. Like that period in 2018, 19, 20, where we had Dangerfield, Selwood, Ablett, could have been anything. And geez, did we get close. And, Tim Kelly there for a while on top of all of that as well. That's the sort of midfield I want us to have again. Something really close to that. And you're most of the way there with Holmes, Smith, and one more. Zach Butters. In terms of, actual potential ones, Zach Butters. But Marcus Bontempelli for me, he'd be the pick. And there's Amy jumping in with Bont, Butters, Rowell, or Reed would slot in beautifully. Reed is obviously a big question mark for some at the moment. Poor TK has fallen. TK? Oh, Tim Kelly. Yeah. What a fall from grace that's been. Again, I think the question got asked last week. The question got asked last week, was it the right decision for him? In terms of his football, no. I mean, he missed out on a grand final. He missed out on premiership glory. But if he made the choice for family, which is what I believe happened, if he's happy, if his family life is good, family first, right? So he might have some regrets in terms of his football, in terms of his work, but work isn't his life, I guess. It shouldn't be. Your time in the AFL industry is fleeting. So, yeah. The Suns did get Gary in his prime. It's unfortunate. I mean, we got a couple of years of that. 07 could have won a Brownlow. Jimmy got it. Deservedly so. Jimmy's a gun. 08, 9, 10, 11. 08, 9, 10. Gary was best player in the competition. But he did go up another gear at the Suns. It's absolutely insane. All right. Let's go back to some full screen action for a bit. Very shortly, we are going to... Jackie just jumps in there, says, agree, went back for family, which is the right call. Hope to see him loving footy again. Look, he came back. Not Cats related, but do you reckon Pendles can challenge Boomer's record? How far off is he now? What I was going to get at is we're going to get into Game of the Week action in a second. AFL players, most games played. AFL records. Boomer's on 432. Pendles is what? What's Pendles on now? 409. Yeah, Jackie says we'll take the better read from WA at the moment, Murphy. Pendles would need to play for another season. I think a lot hinges on how the Pies finish up this year, whether Pendles gets injured along the way, any of those sorts of things. If there's an injury of some sort of substance this year, then maybe that endeavor's over. But geez, he's been durable. He's never really been knocked around for very long. So there's always a chance. I could see it being a possibility. I would say yes. I would say Pendles will overtake Brent Harvey because I think he'll play into 2026. It's a long career, 20 years. But Dustin Fletcher went 22, Boomer went 20, Tuck went 20, Sean Burgoyne went for 20. There's some longevity out there. And yeah, Freezer says he's 23 off, so he'd have to play all of this year and a few of next year as well. All right. So we've still got some questions that I'm sure will pop up, but we are going to jump across to Game of the Week time at the moment. For anyone who's new to the live show, and in case the background didn't make things abundantly clear, beyond all this footy stuff, I also do a lot of work in the video game realm. I'm a journalist. I write a lot of reviews, do a lot of interviews, commentary, all sorts of stuff. We've got a game coming out this week that I want to put on the radars of people. If you're a gamer, please, if you've got a PlayStation, an Xbox, or a PC, I want you to get all around Claire Obscure Expedition 33. I can't say why I'm really strongly recommending it. The trailers look really good. Anyway, I've been playing lots of games lately. Read into that what you want. I'm going to show off Claire Obscure Expedition 33 right now. Oh, hang on. I need to get my screen share going first. Damn it. Let's get the screen share going.
Peggy 18.
It's been 67 years since the world broke apart. 67 years since Lumiere was flung into the sea. 67 years since she appeared and painted her first number. Expedition after expedition have tried to stop her. Idealists, fighting for the future of Lumiere. Academics, obsessed with the secrets of the monolith. And those poor souls who just want their deaths to mean something. None have ever returned. And neither will I. But at least I'll have seen something of this world. Seen what lies outside the domes of Lumiere. I'll have walked the path of all the expeditions who came before us. Tomorrow, the paintress will wake. And tomorrow, we sail into the unknown. Even if we fail, we lay the trail for those who come after. We are Expedition 33.
There we go. That is Claire Obscure Expedition 33. The game comes to PlayStation, Xbox, and PC this week. So stay tuned for that one. If you're like a bit of a traditionalist and don't mind an old Japanese role-playing game, this is basically one of those, but made by the French. But channeling all of those styles, a lot of throwbacks to old classic RPGs in a very pretty modern visual style. All right. Before we wrap things up, I will take some final questions. If there's any other questions about the Cats and the Hawks tomorrow, about any other footballing related topics, share those thoughts, share those questions. In the meantime, for the next minute or two, I'll ramble about more video games. I've been playing a whole bunch of Forza Horizon 5. That's on PlayStation. Big Xbox racing exclusive that's come across. I've been playing Indiana Jones. It's incredible. The review, actually, people can go check that one out. Player2.net.au, people, if you want to see where I post all my video game work. Ben, link us in the chat. But yeah, lots of video game work at the moment. I'm in my final 24-ish hours of school holidays right now. I've also got a shit ton of schoolwork that I need to do tomorrow to get myself ready for day one. So that'll be fun, considering I'm also doing post-game live with Ben tomorrow night. And going to football. Anyway, lots going on. Do we have any final questions, comments, concerns from the chat tonight? Otherwise, we will look to wrap things up there. It's been an absolute pleasure as always. Corey jumps in, just says, please win Catters. Absolutely. It's as simple as that. Let's hope they get the 4 points tomorrow. That could push us up as high as third on the ladder if we absolutely pulverize them. In fact, let's do what any good, honest, discerning Geelong supporter would and take a look at the ladder predictor. I'm gonna project my screen. Boom, boom, share screen, and let's just take a little look at what happens based on a Geelong win tomorrow. So if we win, that's close. We'll overtake Hawthorn. That's a 20-point win. And then obviously you see the alterations to the draw. See the alterations to percentage depending on how close it is. So if it's a tight one, we'll drop our percentage a little bit and remain behind Adelaide. 130. There's 30 points. Actually, I might need to scroll this up because it's a weird spot to be in. Hang on. We'll have to just keep a close eye on it. 40-point win pushes ahead of the Giants and the Giants and the Crows. 50. We're now getting outlandish at this point. What do we need to win by to actually? 100-point win. 100-point win. That's all it takes. 100-point win is what it takes to jump over the Suns and into third. Good luck. How did that loss not do more damage to their percentage? Anyway. Jackie asks, how do I fit it all in? I don't. I struggle a bit. Work. So I get everything done, as well as being a year 12 teacher, as well as teaching how many groups do I have this year? I've got 4 different groups of students that I teach. So I've got about 100 different students. One of those groups is a year 12 class. I coordinate a whole year level as well. 2 of those 5 days I do it on my own because my fellow year 10 coordinator only works 3 days a week. But a lot of those days it's basically like where she is very organized, prepared, boom, ready to go. I'm far more, I'll respond in the moment, which is kind of always how I've been, but it's also kind of fueled by necessity because of all the things I do outside of hours mean that I don't commit many of my personal hours to work stuff. Oh my God. Was it the same round? 20 years apart. Oh, gross. Even more reason to hope that it's just a hyperextension. That's horrific. Brennan says he'll take 100 points. Yeah, so will I. Let's hope we get a 100-point win. Means the pressure's off nice and early. And Hawthorn have shown they can give up a 50, 60-point lead in a half. So if we can double that, as in do it in both halves, there's a 100-point win. But it's fair to say that we're not going to be sitting third on the ladder by the end of tomorrow, you would think. All I kind of hope is that we're not sitting. Hopefully, we're not sitting outside of the 8, i.e., that we've lost by 100 points as well. If we lose by 100, we'll still be sitting 8th on the ladder, but our percentage drops to 103.8. A close loss will have us in 7th. So unchanged, essentially. But yeah, fingers crossed for a win. It is bizarre, that whole ACL thing. That's ridiculous. But all the more reason to hope. If it already wasn't enough to just hope that players don't get injured, let's just hope that there's not some weird coincidence here that leads to father and son doing ACLs 20 years apart to the round. All right. I think on that kind of sad note, we'll wrap things up there for the show tonight. Thank you, everyone, for having tuned in. As always, it's very much appreciated. Your support is enormous. Really burpy and gassy tonight, even though I'm drinking water. It hasn't helped when I've been a bit nasally and congested too. So those audio issues just keep getting compounded. If you haven't already, please make sure to support the channel. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, tell your friends and family, share the good word of the Hoops crew, get as many people subscribing as possible. We are continuing to chase a goal of 2,000 subs. We are inching closer and closer. We are currently on 1,822. We'd love to see as many of you coming aboard as possible. If you are tuning in tonight for the first time, it's been awesome to have you. There's certainly some that I haven't spoken to on the Paul James show before, maybe via Postgame Live, and I'm forgetting. But it's been a pleasure to have any of the new faces tune in tonight. Please don't hesitate to reach out in the future. Subscribe so you're here for Postgame Live tomorrow night and all the other content that we produce. Your ongoing support is huge. You've done so already. Share your thoughts in the chat. If you're watching this after the fact, don't hesitate to use the comment section though as well. Share your thoughts on the show and any of the topics that we've discussed. We'd love to hear what you've got to say. The super chat function, Danders has already smashed it for us tonight. Thank you. But don't hesitate to use the super chat in the future. We've usually got some fun little goals that we have in place around that, stupid little stakes, whatever it happens to be. I think there's still one about me wearing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles pajamas. Ben has volunteered to do that on my behalf. Make sure to follow me on socials. If you haven't already, you can find me on Twitter, X, Blue Sky, and Instagram, all at Paul James Games. That's one word, Paul James Games. Check me out there. Thank you, as always, to our sponsor, Cyril Cook Florist, for that ongoing support. And consider checking out our Patreon, where we have fairly consistent content rolling out each week. We've got 34 patrons at the moment. We are chasing 50 for the year. We'd love to have more and more people checking out some of that exclusive content we're producing. The Chaps Chat Cats do extended versions of their shows. We've got exclusives like my scratching post and a bunch of other content that goes there. Extended content, early access content, and exclusives all on our Patreon. Please check out what we're up to there. Also for patrons, if you haven't maybe seen the notification in the past, and this notification goes out to paid patrons, but also the free ones. The scratching post. It can be a bit hard to come up with topics sometimes. I am going back to work effective Tuesday after the Geelong and Hawthorn game, and that is my golden opportunity to sit down and do some scratching post stuff because I can just mount the phone while I'm on my way to work and talk about a topic. I've been putting some posts up. I've got one scheduled to go up at 6:30 tomorrow night after the Geelong and Hawthorn game, looking for some of your questions, some of your ideas for topics. We did have a great one about rookie selections, and we're going to look to do some work with that one. It doesn't quite fit the scratching post topic, because it's a little bit short, sharp, and a bit more off the cuff. I certainly can't be bringing up draft data while I'm driving. But it's a fantastic topic we are going to do some work with, but it's just not going to be in that format. But if you've got ideas for that show, please make sure you respond. Even if you are just a free patron, please make sure to respond to that. The videos are exclusive to Patreon, so keep that in mind afterwards. But yeah, please make sure to... I'm just taking a little look at some of the comments here. Sorry, I got a little bit distracted for a moment there. But please make sure to consider popping some of your thoughts there on that post that will go live at 6:30 tomorrow night, somewhere between the game ending and post-game live beginning, for some of those topics that you might want me to discuss over the course of the week. For anyone who's not seen it, I basically just mount my phone on my car charger in the car, talk to the camera about whatever topic springs to mind whilst I'm driving to work. So I'm not really looking. You can sometimes see my wheel as I'm turning it around as I go. Very casual, very off the cuff. Definitely no show notes or any of those sort of things to go with. Very raw. If you've got ideas, make sure to share them on that topic post when it goes up. All right, let's see what everyone is talking about, because I've seen Dimmer pop up there. So why are we talking about Dimmer? It'll be his comments after the game, I'm sure. Amy says, I know you've done your video on Richmond Bolter, but did you see Hardwick say the Premier stuck her nose in about Bolter? He shouldn't. Should not be. Sorry, and Amy's clarified it. Should not be condoning violence. So I haven't done my video yet. I'm actually going to be recording it as soon as we finish. So enough of the week this week will be about Richmond and how they've handled the Noah Bolter thing. And that'll go live tomorrow for all on the YouTube channel. Yeah, it's a really messy one. So there's a bit of me sometimes, and I don't think this is one of those times, but sometimes there is scenarios where non-sporting people, be them politicians or whatever, actors, whatever it happens to be, stick their nose into sports where they don't belong. This is not one of those times. I've got no problem with Jacinta Allen, like most people, coming out and saying, no, he shouldn't play. Simple as that. He should not have played this game of football. And as I said earlier on, I think Damien Barrett said it really well on the Sunday Footy Show this morning. I am not going to take Richmond when they step behind some social cause coming up, especially if it's some violence-related one. I'm not going to take them seriously. I'll support the cause, but fuck Richmond. I've got no interest in backing them in the support in the cause that they're trying to promote, because when there was a chance for them to make a stand and make a statement about this kind of behavior, they failed. As simple as that. Jackie says he's a knob. Yep. This is a 3-time coach. Despise him as a player, despise him as a coach. And look, some of his off-field personal life behavior has been pretty shit too. So if you're in the know on that one, then you're in the know. But he's just been a shitty bloke. But anyway, I won't get on the high horse too much. Thank you to everyone for having popped on tonight to check out the show. Again, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Check out our Patreon. Lots of awesome stuff. I won't plug it again. Thank you again, Danders, for the super chat tonight. Very much appreciated. And if you've watched this far, you're an absolute rock star. Thank you all for having tuned in both live and if you're tuning in after the fact. I really appreciate it. That is where we're going to wrap things up for tonight. To give you a run of the week, tomorrow night, 9 p.m. live, post-game live, Ben has made sure to highlight that the round 5 episode of post-game live was the biggest episode of the year in terms of people watching. He's really trying to hold that over me after the massive success of the Geelong and Melbourne one, with Lucas laying in bed and all the Kiri getting his rig out, all that sort of, like, that was a very loose episode. It's the longest episode of the year. Most people have tuned into the Geelong and Adelaide one. And we want to go bigger. We'd love to have as many people as possible tuning in and sharing their thoughts in post-game live and actually jumping in and joining the show as well. So please, we post the link to join the show live into the chat. We'd love to see some of you who do an amazing job in the comment section, popping in from time to time and just share, even if you've got just a few minutes, just sharing your thoughts on the game and having a bit of a chat. And for us, myself, Ben, the chaps, it's also really nice seeing some faces to go with names. A lot of you have got, some of you have your own profile pictures there, but many of you don't. And it's nice sometimes to get a face that goes with the name and get to meet you. So that if we do see you at the ground, we know who we're talking about. So feel free, please, during post-game live to pop in. If you've only got a few minutes, that's fine. No problem at all. But we'd love to have you on board and get some new faces out there. So I guess Tuesday morning. So I guess content's going to be a little bit weird. The Monday game kind of messes up the schedule a little bit. So tomorrow morning, before we even get to our Geelong and Hawthorn match, you will see enough of the week about Noah Bolter. Well, sorry, more about Richmond than Noah Bolter. It's their decision. Tuesday, you'll see my match reaction and the tipping point from Ben, as well as the Chaps Chat Cats and their weekly recap. Wednesday, this is for Patreon subscribers only, the twos. So that will be Jake looking at the VFL and all that's been going on in that space. And of course, some of those 7 AFL listed players who played there on the weekend. Thursday night, normal schedules finally resume. The Paul James Show at 8 p.m. We'll be previewing the upcoming game, and we'll go back and maybe one final time take a bit of a look over Geelong and Hawthorn as well. Sunday night live with Miss Okay, we're not talking about the next post-game live because... hang on. What? Oh, yeah, it's an old comment. Okay, Sunday Night Live will have, because Geelong plays on Sunday next week, we'll have post-game live that night, and we'll work out what the right timing is for the Paul James show after that, so it's a little bit messy. Sorry, I got thrown off with my notes there. Blame Ben, everyone. All right, thank you, everyone, for having tuned in tonight. As always, it's been an absolute pleasure to get to chat to you for the last nearly 2 hours. It's amazing that so many of you stick around and indulge me in my bullshit for as long as you have. It's been 100 minutes. You could have spent your 100 minutes doing many other things, so I appreciate you spending your time with me. Thank you all. As always, remain Geelong strong. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you later. Go Cats.